Hello everyone, I'm Brian and today I'm going to be reacting to Coding Artificial Consciousness Possible Science Physics Sadhguru Adiyogi 2020. So this is a request, I do requests. If you have a request, please leave the title, the YouTube channel, and the length of the video because I think YouTube blocks, for the most part, blocks links to other YouTube videos. So, this actually, whenever I first saw this, is Coding Artificial Consciousness Possible. And the first thing that I thought of was an episode of Star Trek that I watched a long time ago. Was called I had to look this up. The episode is called "The Measure of a Man," Star Trek: The Next Generation, and that kind of That actually did open up my eyes to what is considered to be a living conscious being or living being. I don't know if it talked about consciousness, but living being. And I thought about that. It's like, well, that's kind of easy. At the time, I was like, that's easy. You know, breathe, eat, sleep, I guess. And then I started thinking a little bit more. It's like plants. Like, well, you know, they're living too, but they're different from animals and humans. And then I was like, oh man, wow. What is the definition, or what is it considered to be alive? And that kind of blew my mind a little bit at that young of an age that I was. And then when the trial continued on, it opened up my eyes more to, are computers considered to be alive? I was like, well, no, they're created. How are they alive? You know, that we actually create them in factories and stuff. I mean, humans are made naturally, but is that the only thing we should consider when something's alive, whether it's made in a factory or whether it's made naturally? Honestly, that episode blew my mind, and I want to watch it again. But that's what I first think of whenever I saw this. And the person that suggested it, actually, I think I did, you know, make that suggestion that episode. Anyways, that's what I thought of when I thought of this. I don't know if they're going to go into this or not, but let's go ahead and give this video a shot. Ooh, I talked about it too much. ACC's on already.
This question is from Snehashish. Namaskaram, Sadhguru. I am a seeker and I am working on a concept of artificial consciousness.
Whoa.
I have a fundamental question for you. Can consciousness be computer programmed, and can machines have consciousness? I understand, following your videos and books, that objects can be created by certain techniques to form a yantra. Can this process be written in programming language?
I don't know what a yantra is, so I'm going to be a bit of a disadvantage trying to understand this. But the question a little bit earlier, she said,
following your video.
Oops, sorry, I should not be rewinding
I
back.
have a fundamental question for you. Can consciousness be computer programmed? And can machines have consciousness?
So, this question right here was quite interesting. You know, when I did programming myself, so I do have a basic understanding of it. And we look at what did it call trees? Oh, God, it's been a while since I did programming, but you look at search trees, and what that basically is that whenever you try to find something, you say, hey, look this up for me. You know, you Google search trees, and what Google does, it looks at maybe it does the first letter, says T, so it's a T is in the first half of the tree. So instead of looking the first half of the trees being the alphabet, A through whatever and whatever through Z, actually it'd probably be in the second half, but it cuts the search in half because it already eliminated half the things that it's trying to search for. So it goes to the other half. It says, okay, it's actually in the first quarter of the last half, then it eliminates the last half. So the search gets a little bit quicker, and then it continues on this little tree path until it finds the answer that you're looking for. And it's like, well, no, that's how computer thinks. You know, it's just pre-programmed stuff. We give it all the information it needs, and then it just does this little tree path to find the answer. And then I thought, it's like, wait a minute, we kind of do that same thing because, again, our eyes, our touch, smell, all our five senses are also inputs. And as we learn life, we're taking in input, and we know that fire bad, kinda, unless you're cooking. But like generally, if a house is on fire, that's a bad thing. If you're on fire, that's a really bad thing. And a robot, much like a child, would not know that. And so a robot and a child are very similar, especially if the robot doesn't have very many inputs. The same with a child, it doesn't have very many inputs. So as the child learns and as the robot learns, they grow the same way. And the way the robot thinks may be like a tree, and our mentality is maybe not similar, but in the sense it is. So I'm like, again, I was blown away, but I'm like, holy crap. So robots and us humans kind of think a little bit. I mean, we think not necessarily the same, but kind of the same.
I understand
But maybe
following
consciousness
your
is a little bit
videos
differently.
and books.
Always developed around riverbanks. Every civilization happened only around riverbank because every day, well, if you want to drink water, you go to the river, you want to wash clothes, you go to the river, you want to shit in the morning, you go to the river. Want to
Wait,
wash your animals, you go to the river. Because there
did it say the S word? That didn't go in CC, but did he say that? I'm not gonna rewind. I'm gonna continue on.
were largely no
Caught me off guard.
containers. To start with, there was no container at all. Just imagine, you dug out the soil or clay and made a pot out of it, and you could hold water in it by burning it. What a miraculous invention was that?
Mm-hmm.
Even
was.
now, if you excavate any ancient site, one thing that you will find is pots, or either full or broken or whatever, earthen pots, burnt pots, which were vital technology, I want you to understand. More important than your spacecraft, I want you to understand this. Because if there is no container to hold water or food or anything, just imagine all you have is your two then it becomes a board or a chip or whatever you want to call it. How exactly it works, you don't know, but you know how to use it. Similar is the nature of consecration. We invested a certain energy.
As long as it works, you know? No need to worry about how it works other than the fact that it works.
For a certain purpose, to function in a certain way, so that that same substance can function at a higher level. This is true even with your body. At least in this lockdown period, if you are investing your time in the morning to do your Surya Kriya or Shakti or Namaskara, whatever, asanas, whatever else, you see within a few days or a couple of weeks, you can distinctly see that this same flesh and bone functions at a higher level. In a way, it's consecrating.
He made me think that actually, in a sense, our cells… I know he talked about this before, about how our bodies have memories of the past. And yeah, I do agree, because it knows how to create the nail, the finger, the joints, the brain, the eyes, and all that. And and now that's programming. It knows how to do this. It programmed itself. Well, it obviously through evolution, the way how our body is created seems to work very well. That's the reason why we live for so long. That's the reason why we're alive today, is because our body is made enough, well enough to survive. Again, it's not the best, but the only thing that you need to do to survive is just be good enough. A very low standard, but you know what? It is perfectly fine. And it's amazing that now that I think about it, like our DNA. I mean, I've always known this. God, I need to slow down my talking. Our DNA has code that tells us how to write our body, our fingers, our nails, our hair, everything. Although sometimes it messes up, and that's what gets cancer. But yeah, I knew that our DNA had code, but I never thought about it in the similar sense of like coding for computers. Huh. And I just now thought about that. So computer programming code is very similar to our DNA, whereas each line of code does something very specific for a computer. Same with our DNA. Or is it RNA? Or both. I don't know which one does what. I'm not a biologist or cellologist, I don't know.
If you want to look at it just as a definition, in a way you're consecrating the body to function at a higher level. Same solar energy, now you're transforming it into a higher level of function. So consecration is a certain investment of energy, let us say in a certain form, so that that form will function at a higher level. Consciousness is a completely different matter. We've already gone through this when I spoke in the beginning. Consciousness…
Kind of figured maybe consciousness might be a little bit different. I just… and this thing I think is he talked about before, where there's this separation between who you truly are and your body, your mind, your mind and body are one thing that's not you, not your true you, but then there's this other thing that's your true you that's not your body, which is something I'm still trying to understand. I understand that, okay, there's a separation there, I get that, but and I wouldn't say completely understand, but I mostly understand about the mind and body. And this consciousness part, I've always thought about it as part of the mind. Because how your mind forms is basically your consciousness. How your receptors and your… I don't know what else is in the mind. Maybe nothing in my brain, but I don't know. No, how all the little webs of connective tissues or whatever it is in your mind, how it connects is very… maybe it's very specific to you. How every neuron fires in your brain is something very specific to you, and that is uniquely you, and that is your consciousness. But as far as as I was watching Sadhguru's video, no, there's something separate there, and that's the thing I'm still not grasping. I understand there's a separation, but I need an explanation, a bit more explanation. Trust me, sometimes I am very difficult to understand some things, and it takes a lot of tries or a lot of different ways for me to understand it, for it to finally click in place.
Is not bound by anything. It is the ultimate motherboard of the existence. So can I make the machine conscious?
I'm sorry, he used motherboard. I build my own computers too. I don't know. I just love how it's integrating a lot of the concept that that computer people who are, you know, computer savvy understand.
It's a ridiculous thing. Even you cannot become conscious. I want you to understand. Not in the usual… See, the word conscious being used in so many different ways, it's confusing. But let me tell you, there is consciousness.
Okay.
If you dissolve your physical form, if you dissolve your psychological form, if you dissolve your emotional and energy forms, you have become consciousness. Not that you became conscious in the sense that you possess consciousness.
See, that's the thing that I'm not grasping. I think there's a very few videos where I've watched of his that talked about that, because there's so many other things too that I want to watch of his. And I guess I haven't watched videos specifically. Maybe actually I did, which is the conscious mind with I can't remember his name, David Eagleheart or something. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, but and also the Harvard talk. It's not enough explanation for me.
No, you have become consciousness. Like if we bury you, you become soil, you become the earth. Just like that, if we dissolve you, you have become conscious. You can neither generate consciousness within this or in any of your electronic stuff. It's a completely misunderstanding. I know these debates are going everywhere in the world. I've been to various conferences, endlessly they're talking about it.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, okay, so whenever I think of consciousness, especially with the Star Trek episode, that we have the same consciousness as the machines, because we don't see machines the same way as we see ourselves, because I don't know, it's just because it's because we don't that's it. It's because we don't see machines the same as us. That's the reason why we don't think they have it, because we see how they're built from their infancy to their present way, the way they are now. So it's a bit more difficult to accept a machine to be conscious. But now that he said that machines and us don't have a consciousness, okay, so we're an even playing field, kind of like how I believe that we have a conscious and that the machine has a conscious in the same sense. We both have consciousness in my mind, and it's an even playing field, but he's saying that we both don't have consciousness, which is still an even playing field, that we either we both do or we both don't. So he's saying we both don't, which, okay, even playing field still.
Only thing is, everybody is invested in their idea. An idea means it's a limited possibility. In that, there is no consciousness. You can talk about it as much as you want, because everybody is free to use the word. Essentially, when we say consciousness, we are talking about the fundamental. Everything else is a pop-up. The galaxy is a pop-up, solar system is a pop-up, planet is a pop-up, you are a pop-up. When human being has the ability to not just be a pop-up, but become the source, when you become that, in some way you dissolve your identity, because your body, your mental structure essentially is because of identity. Just look at it this way.
I do completely understand that. It goes along the lines which I watch a lot of oh god, the astrophysics black guy. I'm terrible with names, I swear. If I didn't know my own name, well, if I don't write down my name, I wouldn't know who I am. But he talked about how our body, we are part of the cosmos. Everything that's in the cosmos is in us, which was an eye-opener for me. And also, Sadhguru also talked about this, in which I do completely agree. You know, we eat stuff that's from the cosmos, and we convert that to who we are. We use that to develop who we are, and then when we die, we go back into the earth, which is part of the cosmos. So, and the only thing, and I do understand the fact that the only thing that separates us is our identities, which makes us who we are individually. Meaning that how I identify myself is different from another person. That's how we can separate ourselves.
That you flushed and said, that's me, that's me.
Okay, so that confirms the first part. He did in fact say that. It still catches me off guard because I don't think I've heard him curse in other videos before. So this is the first time I've heard him say that.
That's me. Because it's been you at some point.
I am that stuff right there. Bye bye me, mini me, flushing. It's true though. That is that old me, old you, used you. You that's no longer needed. You that it's expired. And again, that's another thing that which kind of blew my mind, is the fact that, you know, our cells die and gets replaced every day. Up after a certain number of years, you no longer have your old you. You're a completely brand new cell, but are you still you? Which I think I talked about it in another video about a ship. I explained it in the same way as a ship. As parts gets damaged, it gets replaced, and eventually, if all the parts gets damaged, the entire ship gets replaced. It's still the same ship. Which is a very interesting thought to think about.
But you don't identify with it, so it's not you. So you need to understand what is me, what is not me in your experience is a made-up reality that you make it up by identifying with it. This is me, this is mine. Whether it is an object or a person or a thing or a property, including your body and your mind, you only feel it's me when you're identified with it.
I had a little moment click there, a small one. But is it because, okay, so I was thinking along the lines of you eating again, and your body takes that and creates this hand. It uses something to create something, but it's not you because the body created it. I don't know how to say it clearly. I don't know if you guys will understand what I mean by that. Now, and that kind of clicked a little bit for me too. It's the fact that without eating something, our bodies cannot grow or recreate cells. And no matter who you are, you cannot make this body grow unless you eat. And by eating, it uses what you eat to grow. It has nothing to do with you growing it's happened to you. It happens to be your body eating and processing the food to make this body grow. I see the disconnect there. The disconnect there. How your body and your consciousness are two separate things. And now I thought about, is your consciousness the electronic signals that are being fired in your brain? Because those connections are still part of the body, and they may connect in a special way, but the electrical signals, is that your consciousness? Because this electrical signals is a physical form, and I think he says that the consciousness is not physical. So I'm getting closer to it, but at least that little part kind of clicked for me there, where the fact that a lot of people will say, yeah, this is me, this arm is me, it's part of me, it is me, as a matter of fact. But when I realized that when you eat food, it puts it into your arm, it makes you grow your arm or whatever, but it's the food that makes your arm, not you. I hope that made sense.
So if you withdraw your identities, then you dissolve. Not that your body will melt away, it's still sitting here, but because you've withdrawn your identity, it has dissolved from your experience. Now your consciousness, because that is the basis of your existence. Now, can I create consciousness? Can I invest consciousness? This is all rubbish. You can invest energy and make something work better. That's a different matter. Making anything work better, in my you may find this little extreme, even if you create a god, even if you create a deity of the highest possibility, still it's a survival process. You're looking how to survive better, or maybe you want to thrive better. Thriving is also survival. To thrive means you're doing surviving better than others.
And that I also do understand the fact that it's kind of, I don't think anyone really, well, I don't know if anyone really thought about it this way, but creating gods as a way of survival. And it makes sense because, you know, in the past, you know, we didn't have science as we know today, or troubleshooting. But when we hear thunder or rain, it's like, where's this coming from? It's just manifesting out of nowhere because we don't know how rain or thunder works. So it must be someone doing it. We see that things are created by a creator. So babies are created by us. We see that, you know, babies don't just pop out of nowhere. That'd be kind of weird. We see animals giving birth, so animals don't just pop out of nowhere either. So everything that we've always seen has always been created by something. So therefore, we have this idea that no matter what it is, it's always created by something. And if we can't explain it, the easiest way to explain it is by a deity. And the reason why it's survival is because if we can understand something, we know how to kind of make it work in our favor, or at least make it work. So if there's a deity, let's pray to this deity, and hopefully it'll rain when we need it to rain, and not rain when we don't need it to rain. That's how I see it being survival.
That's all thriving is. So
Surviving
even
better,
your
yeah.
God, your religion, your whole heaven, heaven means what? You're surviving better than others, though you're dead. Though you die, you survive better than others. That's going to heaven, isn't it? So all this is just survival. This is why continuously from day one when you came to the introductory, I've been talking about, if you distance yourself from the instinct of survival, something else will happen to you. Whether you're in an ashram or in a temple or in heaven, you're still trying to survive. When you are not identified with your own survival, why all these brahmacharis are sitting there is, in a way, striving to move away from survival process. If you move away from your survival process, or you can only move away from your survival process when you are no more identified with your physical self, with your psychological self, with your emotional self, with your energy self and your chemical self, you are not identified with these things. That is when you have moved away from your survival process. The moment you move away from your survival process, you are consciousness. There is
Let me rewind. I'm so sorry for rewinding, but
identified with these things. to his father and asked, "Father, what does it cost to get married?" The father, who was in his
$20,000.
50s, said, "My son, I do not know because I'm still paying." Please, wherever you are, particularly if you're in India and United States, how conscious you are, how responsible you are, will determine the nature of the world. Please, let's make it happen. Let's make this happen, a better world. A better world is only with a better human being, there is no other way. And a better
100%
human
agree.
being is a consequence of being a responsible human being.
Yes. I think that's what's lacking too, and I wouldn't say necessarily… Yeah, that's the channel, by the way, if you want to watch this video or watch his other videos, or this person's video. So I think that is definitely one thing that's lacking in… I wouldn't say necessarily in the world, but in the world for sure, because I'm sure there's many people out there who are just not responsible, but I think it tends to happen in Western countries, just because when he was talking about survival, and once we get past survival and we remove our identities, that we become conscious. And I think in developed nations, they've gotten past the survival aspect, but they develop this new survival aspect of Twitter followers or Instagram stuff, which I don't want to… honestly, I don't want those things, but in order to have ways of communicating with you guys, I may have to create one. Oh god. Honestly, I don't really care for that stuff, but to build… I don't know how and most of those things work. I just know how to watch YouTube videos. I don't even know how to post on YouTube to let you guys know some stuff aside from videos. But anyways, yeah, it's this developed nation that survival is no longer a thing in terms of real survival. We developed this maybe false survival, and this false survival is in terms of social survival, social acceptance. I think that's a good word. If you're not socially accepted, you're socially dead. And I think because of social media that we've come to this new survival, this false survival, which whether you have 5 million followers or one or none, or don't even have an account, it's not going to affect how you really survive in this world. And because of this false survival, we get distracted on how to do what Sadhguru was talking about losing our identities, because this false survival is very heavily influenced in our identities. And I guess an example that I've kind of not necessarily realized, but I guess kind of realized is was the Indian prince who wasn't served properly in Rolls Royce, I believe, that video. And I made a comment like, you know, if you make a sale, you make a sale. That's fine. You're making money either way. But because of this, I can't. I guess because I can't identify as a rich person, I don't know how to think like them. I can understand, but I don't think like that. And then as I thought about it more, and as I read more comments that people have posted on there, I come to the realization that image is everything to a brand, including people who post on Instagram or Twitter. Their image is very important. Clearly I have no image. I am just me, and that is it. And is my hair okay? Yeah. Oh wait, no, that's good. Okay. So but yeah, image is everything. So when someone said, if they see people using your vehicles or whatever it is that you created as something for trash, other people are gonna like, oh, that is nasty. I don't want to be associated with trash. So like he used the Rolls Royce, I believe, as a it's kind of funny, but as a trash pickup thing, and it makes sense. When I think about it that way, if rich people don't want to buy your stuff because it's being used as trash, it's associated with a trash, then why would they want to buy it? It's an image thing, and I'm like, well, clearly I don't think like that, so clearly I have no image. So that's why it didn't make much sense to me. But now I'm like, I get it. And also that's the reason why rich people get free stuff, like really expensive Gucci stuff, and I don't know whatever other expensive stuff there is. The only reason why I know Gucci's because you always hear people making jokes about, oh, is that a Gucci bag or Gucci this? The fanciest stuff that I know about is like Nike, and I don't think that's even fancy at all. That's still super expensive to me, but anyways. So yeah, image is everything. And now that's the survival aspect that we kind of have in developed nations. You know, making sure you're wearing all the fancy gear, $500 shirts or $2,000 underwear that no one's gonna see. Hopefully, but then again, with nowadays, you know, you're practically seeing it. But yeah, image is everything. And I never really thought about. I understood that kinda, but never really fully clicked for me. But yeah, so that's the new survival in at least in most part Western nations, maybe even Westernized nations. And I don't know about all developed nations. Maybe it does seem like it, but I really lack the knowledge of what's going on in other countries. Mostly America, because I live here and I see what's going on. Some a little bit in Europe, Western Europe specifically. Some in Japan, because before we started this channel, we were kind of interested in Japan and visiting the place until we realized the Olympics was happening there, and that's like the worst time to go because prices go up. Anyways, I need to stop talking. This has gone on way too long. That's my reaction to coding artificial consciousness possible. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.